Welcome to the No Limiter Podcast, where we interview top business owners, entrepreneurs, and creators in every industry to help you set record-breaking months. Here's your host of the No Limiter Podcast, Regina Eileen Woodard.
You are listening to the No Limiter Podcast. I am your host, Regina Eileen Woodard, Regina, the Queen of Carlones. I am your host of the No Limiter Podcast. And today I am super excited to be with this special guest. You know, meeting this special guest is, when you're on social media, you don't realize who you meet, who you're going to talk to, and who is going to actually change your life. I am interviewing today Durran Cage. He is the owner, the founder of Cage Automotive. Cage Automotive is a company that strives to leave everything better than they found it through their product and service. Welcome to the No Limiter Podcast, Durran. How you doing?
What's going on, Regina? Thank you so much for having me. And all I got to say is the next time I'm on tour or we go somewhere, you're going to do my intro if we're in the same area. So that was fire. So thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to make sure I just fly in. You just tell me where you're going to be. I'm just going to fly in and I'm just going to pay my own flight, right? Because I know that, no, on a serious note, thank you for taking time out your busy schedule. I know that you have a busy life, with your career, but I know that you have a beautiful wife named Paige and you have 4 beautiful children.
Yeah. It's fun. So I'm thankful. And it's always been just like you, before we got started, when you told me your schedule, I felt like I was nothing. I was like, I do this many, I do this. I'm like, whoa. So likewise, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your time with me. Always.
So 20 years in this automobile space. How did you get your start in this huge automobile space? Because it's so many, I think it's a dealership. I want to say it was a dealership on every corner, but it's not. But it's a dealership, I want to say, within 10 to 15 miles of each other. It doesn't matter what brand it is, but how have you made it so far in this business, been in this business for 20 years?
Yeah, I give it one word: information. So once we get information, it's what we do with it. Once we receive that information, what we're going to do with it moving forward. So just briefly, real quick, going back 20 years, I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so one of my best friends, his name is KC, and his father, when he invited me over to his house, man, I couldn't believe everything that I was seeing. I was like, man, what do you guys do here? Because I come from, before that, I was living in Ohio, military brat, but we lived in like shared housing, so duplexes and stuff like that. I had never seen a house other than on MTV Cribs like what he had. And he said, my dad owns a dealership. I'm like, what? I said, so how did he get a dealership? And he's like, he sold cars. I said, well, after he sold cars, what did he do? Like, where do you go to school to sell cars? And he said, he didn't go to school. He just worked hard, saved his money, moved up the ranks. And next thing you know, he owned a store. I said, I want to sell cars. I said, I want to sell cars when I graduate high school. And so that's exactly what we did. When I graduated high school, before I went into college, we went, sold cars. And I can still remember to this day, that first Dodge Dakota, showing my age, 02 Dodge Dakota.
What year? That was 02, you said?
2002. Yeah. So my first vehicle was a Dodge Dakota.
Is that the first car you sold, or is that the first car you had? That's the first car
I sold. No, the car I had was rough. It was a 1997 Dodge Intrepid. It had like 200,000 miles. So, but yeah, so that's the first one I sold. Then after I graduated college, I got a job working for Chrysler. So they moved me out to Memphis, Tennessee back in 07. And so when I became a field rep, I had Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi. And so I'd go around, young buck, trying to tell dealers what to do because I was a digital age. So this is 07, 08, where Google was really like one of the best places that you needed to have presence. So I was talking about internet departments, search engine marketing. And so I ended up leaving in 08 to go back into retail in Jackson, Tennessee at a dealership for 8 years, where I did half as an internet director, another half as a GSM, and then went on to become a consultant for another company a large vendor. And then after doing that for a few years, then I started my own company in 2018, where really the whole focus is back to what you were saying earlier, Regina, is like the whole focus is just to help businesses win. There's no extra product I'm trying to cover up. It's like, I want to deliver a service that the value is driven by the service that I provide to my clients. So it's just helping people win. And so it's been fun. I enjoy it because it aligns with my path, which is just to help people, and to help businesses get a little bit better each day.
So let me slow you down, because you gave me a whole bio in 2 minutes, right? So let's just back it up a little bit. So let's talk about where you're from. So where are you from again? What part?
Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yep.
Born and raised?
No, so I was born in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I lived there for a few months. And then after living in like Turkey, England, Ohio, bunch of different places, when my father retired, that's what ended us up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where he started his second career, I would say, after he retired.
So your dad was in the military? Is that why? Is that okay?
Yeah, he was in the Air Force.
Okay. How did I guess? Because you have all these certain cities you said you lived in. So first I thought, okay, so was he born out the country? And I was like, I didn't get that from you in the beginning when we first had our conversation. Actually, we had our first conversation, our first meeting over Zoom. So It goes back to tell you just about social media and how the growth and just how people are meeting people, because, I honestly, until COVID, I wasn't the social media person. I'm like, if I can't meet that person in person, or I meet them at a social gathering, meet them on social media, it just wasn't to me, it just wasn't a thing. I mean, probably because I'm old school, but now I have met some of the best people on social media, just like yourself. But let's get into the juicy here. When I say let's get into the juice, let's talk about the career, because you kind of slid over when how you got into the business, when you sold your first car. What was it like when you sold your first car? Because we never talked about what you did before, but what was it like in the car business? 2000, what year was that?
That was 2002. No, 2002. When I sold my first car, it was 2002. Yeah.
2002. And what was the name of the dealership you worked at in 2002?
Zangiera Dodge. Yeah.
Zangiera Dodge. Is that Dodge store still around?
No, so it's been moved on. And so it is, I don't know if I should say it got sold or acquired or whichever worked best for my best friend's father, Mr. Zangiera. But yeah, so it kind of moved on to its next phase.
So are you still in touch with the gentleman that actually helped get you, that got you into the business? Are you guys still have?
Yeah, yes. He's my best friend. His name is KC. I call him Keys, and his father as well. I actually will be talking to him this weekend. We've got to catch up. So that's how crazy it is. Over 20 years ago, still keeping that tight relationship, because and it's funny, of course, as friends, we don't even really talk about auto industry that much, so we're just boys, but yeah, we still are very tight.
So what was some of his advice, or his father's advice that he gave you, his dad gave you, in the being in this business? Because this business, I believe, because I've been in business since 1998, and I went a few years in the mortgage business, but this business is totally different now than it was when your friend's dad had his business. Yeah. What is some advice that he gave you when you first got into the business?
I'll be real with you. I can't even tell you. I can't even remember any advice that he really gave. But what I can say is that I'm very observant, and I know you're the same way. I watch people. I watch every step. I watch everything they do. And so what I observed about my best friend's father back then, just like my dad too, is they were very disciplined with their schedule and how they worked. Like I can remember, staying over my friend's house and his dad working out at 4:00 in the morning, 4:30 on a Saturday, getting ready for the Saturday morning sales meeting. I was like, and we're just now going to sleep, and his dad's going in there, and I'm like, I would never do that. That's the dumbest. And here I am later doing the same thing, getting up at 4:00 in the morning, working out, taking care of myself. And it's just funny, but that's what I would say is like his work ethic. He'd be one of the first dealers. He'd be one of the first people to show up. He'd bring breakfast. There was a lot of little things that he would do that I would just pay attention to, down to like how he talked to people. And so to me, and that's that's something that's really helped me, is like, I don't really pay near as much attention to what people say as much as I pay attention to actually what they do and what their routine is like.
Mm, mm. Let's bring it back to the future. Right now, when I was looking at your LinkedIn page, and you were saying it's all about the customer experience. Why is it so much about the customer experience?
Because look at the big companies. That's what I tell people. If you look at the Amazons of the world, they're not really selling a product, they're selling an experience. They're selling the fact that you can get what you want, get it quick without you having to leave home. They're giving you the reviews right there. If you look at some of the big automotive dealers and the best run companies in the world, they're really not selling so much a product or service as much as they're selling how easy it is to do business with them through the experience. And so that's what I train when I'm consulting and working with dealerships. I really don't teach the steps to the sale, because I think it's so old. You need to have a flow. But what I teach is the little things that makes it a great experience, like using video, doing the little things, things that make the experience memorable. That's what gets referrals and repeat business. So I definitely would say I'm more of an experienced trainer, consultant, and same thing on the employee side as well. Like, what's the employee experience, right? So I think we're in a very experience-driven culture, society now, that the bar is raised so high. And I know you see this too, that customers that you deal with now, they're expecting a high level experience. And if we don't deliver on that, they can easily go and buy a car somewhere else within 5 to 10 minutes.
What makes your company, what makes KJ Automotive different from C Woodard on the block? C Woodard on the block. I was going to call the company's name, but that wouldn't be. So, say KJ Automotive and C Woodard on the block. What makes you different besides bringing the customer experience? Because what I have learned over these years is that people do business with people they like, right? So what makes you different than, say, C Woodard Automotive or C Woodard company?
I would say there's a few things. I think one of the biggest things that I do is I don't tell people that they have to do something. What I do is I teach through influence, So, and what I mean by influence is I don't tell a Regina, this is what you must do. I tell Regina, this is why you can do this. And here's the information that backs up on why you should do it. So I always have a lot of data.
You're going to share facts. You're going to share the information, right? But you're also going to share fact. This is why you do it. And then you have to you make that decision whether you want to do it or not.
Exactly. And so again, some people, if they can do it their own way and get the same result, if not better, then I say lean into that art, because we're all so different. So, but I would still say one of the bigger differences though, is I try to connect everything. So as most trainers, we come in and they come in really focused on teaching people how to sell cars. What I do as a consultant and a coach is teach people how to build a business within that dealership, from your social media presence to how to use your CRM, and then making sure the marketing that the dealership has is connected with the team's efforts. So most dealerships have marketing here, sales team here, and then CRM in the middle. And so what I do is try to connect all those dots and make sure that everything's aligned. So if you're going to market something on social media, then you need to make sure the sales team is trained and understands about that marketing and what's happening. And then as a consultant, making sure that that's effective. So that's where I would say the biggest difference is I come at it from a connected standpoint of really understanding a dealership's business and what they're about, and then training and leveraging on those strengths versus just coming in on my agenda and saying, this is what y'all have to do. And if I do that, sometimes it can clash with the culture or what the systems are that are already in place at that dealership.
So give me an example. I remember, still in this automobile space, but, I know that when, dealership where I work at, they may put a plan out there, right? Or they may advertise. And then, most of us don't know what's going on until it hits the paper or until it's going on. They're really not like communicating and putting the dots to it, right? They're putting a plan in place. They didn't thought about it. Somebody came in and told them how to do it. But instead of just communicating with all of us to let us know, sometimes the ball is dropped. Not every time, but sometimes the ball is dropped on that. Just give me an example on what you do to connect those dots.
Yeah, so let's give like an example. Say we've got Regina's marketing agency that's going to run some kind of campaign, whether it be direct mail, digital advertising, something that's going to drive a lot of subprime business. Then if you told me like, hey, Durran, I'm on the call with the general manager, like, hey, we're about to do a big push. Subprime is tax season. Let's get ready. We should expect between 100 to 200 additional customers. So then once we find out what that message is going to be, is it going to be so much money down, no money down, whatever that message is. And then we need to make sure that the team is armed and ready. All right, so on such and such date, this is what's launching. Here's how we're going to keep the message going. So when you talk to, John over the phone, they're going to say, I saw this ad, and we're going to be like, okay, great. You know what? And yes, let me tell you a little bit about this, what we got going on, boom, 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 and then turn around and learn more about the customer. And then say we don't connect with some of those customers, let's make sure our email messaging and text messaging matches that flow to what Regina's marketing campaign is. So that would be like a live example. Same thing, if we did a trade, you would do the same thing. Make sure that we're focused on what the customer wants before we focus on what we want.
I don't know if you were around. Do you remember when General Motors filed the bankruptcy? It was General Motors, it was Chrysler, and Ford didn't file. And I remember after they filed, they came back and we had cash for clunkers. Do you remember that?
I sure do. Yep.
So let's just talk about that a little bit. What would have been your way of explaining cash for clunkers? Cash for clunkers. Because if anybody know what this was, you bring in your car, we give you we give you $1,000 for your trade. Didn't matter whether you towed it in, you drove it in. It could have been worth $1 or $100, but we gave you $1,000. What would you have done to try to connect the dots? Because honestly, let me just tell you this. That was a video, but that was a hot piece of crap. I mean, it was a mess. That all the dealership ended up with a lot of cars in the back of their dealership. It was just a lot of problems because I think the whole process wasn't thought out. It wasn't thought out like it should have been. It was just sounded like a good idea and they just ran with it.
Yeah. So what we did, because, I was in a store at that time, we bought billboards and we bought URLs. So I went straight digital. I think we bought cashforclunkers.org or something like that. Something as close as we did. And then we put a video message on there about what we're doing. And we didn't focus on just those cars. We focused on everybody's cars. Listen, we don't just want clunkers. We want to help everybody move up and get their vehicle and upgrade. And what's funny about that, because we would say, hey, what if we can give you more than what they say your vehicle is worth, right? And what's funny is think about right now what happened last year. That was the time back then that dealerships could have had a really effective acquisition strategy in terms of how they buy cars. Well, look what happened last year. Again, all the cars go away. New car inventory goes through. They don't bring a cash for clunkers. This time there's like an economic, thing that's pushed into the market, and dealerships still struggle with how to purchase vehicles outside of an auction. So it's like, it's the same thing. It's just a different time and a different message, right? But it's funny you bring that up because I didn't think about that till now. Like, dang, back then it was about cash for clunkers to spur the market. Well, last year they got involved to help the market drive. And then look at how the dealers responded to that, and one of the best years ever. But then now this year, what's going to happen? What's dealership strategy going to be moving forward?
I don't know. That's why you here. What's a dealership strategy? Well, I mean, what are we going to do now? They had cash for clunkers. They had the economic because of COVID, right? Prices of new cars, people are charging more for prices for that. Used car prices are higher. So what's your solution? Not really a mess now, but it's going to be a mess, right?
Retention. So that's what I've been telling the clients that I work with, and I put that on social media, is retention is going to be the name of the game for the next 3 years. The dealerships that focus on a high level of retention within their service department, their sales department, and their employees, those are going to be the ones that win. So think about last year. Probably, I don't know exactly how many cars got sold, but it was a buku amount for a lot of dealers. They sold a lot of cars. What in the world are they? Money. Yeah, what in the world are they doing right now for those customers? Like, what are they doing? Go ahead to get that cycle going, to go ahead and get them back into the service department. Go ahead and make sure that everything's being taken care of. What about the referrals? What about the customers from 2 years ago when COVID really just happened? They could already upgrade and probably be in a good position, And so that's because dealers we spend a lot of money trying to attract new buyers. And at some point, the cost of trying to attract a new buyer is going to get too expensive and they've got to cut somewhere. But retention literally costs no money. Really, that's just your sales team or whoever just reaching out to your customers, making sure they're taken care of and making sure that we're doing the right things to get them back. But between that, social media, organic content, of course, there's still reasons to spend money in marketing. I'm not going to say that, but I don't focus on that area. My job is not to help dealers spend more money in marketing. My job is to do as much as we can with what we already have and without increasing expense. And so a lot of times that comes through people and through the CRM and through that service drive.
Are you in the market for a new or used car? Whether you're in the Metro Detroit area or anywhere in the U.S., call or text me at 248-301-0461. And I go to work on getting you the best deal possible. That's right. We're delivered anywhere in the U.S. Call or text me at 248-301-0461. You're teaching the dealers how to not spend as much money, but to also keep it, now I want to say in-house, but to keep it, to make sure they're going to maximize their dollars, because you have some dealerships that go out there and they spend a lot of money on mass media, just spending money, but they're really trying to figure out what works.
Correct.
So let's just talk about, I like what you said, the retention, because the one thing when I'm focusing now, since I've been in the business all these years, is with my marketing coaches that, we're dripping on my customers at least twice a week, right? They're getting the email from me, he's creating so many different things because that email campaign, I didn't realize how important that was. Okay, I get the customer, you ask for a referral, but you got to get their email address, because even the ones that don't buy from you, you got to be able to drip on them, because just because they don't buy a car from you now, don't mean they won't refer their friend or they won't come back later and refer them back. And then I like what you said about, the service drive. I remember when I first got into the business, I actually used to work the service aisle. I used to get up. I would get up like a half hour, maybe an hour early than what everybody else would get there, 2 or 3 times a week. And then I would spend some time in service. I would say hi to the customer, put that little mat, the little white mat or whatever on their floor. And I would say good morning, and I just make a quick little conversation. If they didn't have a salesperson, I would give them my card. And those are the people actually that came back to see me. I did that for at least a year, at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I met those extra, I got those extra sales by that, right? And, I was telling one of my coworkers, I'm like, that's old school, but that's still new school, because you have to stay in front of those customers that not when they're not looking to buy now, but when their lease is up, they remember you. They're going to come and they're going to think about maybe the dealership where they're getting their vehicle serviced, but they might want to see you next time, So, I don't know. I know I went off on a tangent, but I always got to bring back, when you say something, I got to bring back my thoughts. So, wow, this is what I used to do, or just thinking about back at Cash for Clunkers. And now you said retention, it's like nobody right now, I think these dealers are really not thinking about retention. They're thinking about the money now and how much money that they're making, but they're not thinking about later. But let me just say this, and I'm going to my next question is, one thing I love about the dealership I work at now, it's a Chevy store. He has a Chevy store, a Buick GMC store. It's a group. They own a Ford store in Wisconsin, and then they have a Chevy store in Minnesota. But is that we're not over sticker. You come to buy a new car, you got GM discount, you get the GM discount, you have it. And, we're not over sticker unless you buy a Corvette. We're thinking about 2 years from now, 3 years from that customer, because the market, he's already, the dealership's been around 63 years. They've been in business 63 or 65 years. So they're thinking about 2 years from now, 3 years from now, to be around, to be able to still be able to make money and not piss those customers off where then they're not gonna, you know what I mean? They're not gonna come back.
Mhm.
So I just had to put my 2 cents in on that, because I think that's huge for you to be even thinking that and teaching your, the dealers that you're dealing with that, because that's very important. Not about now, it's about next week, next month, 2 years from now.
I just gotta say time out. So the next time I'm at a store and I get some pushback, I'm phoning a friend and I'm be like, fam, tell them what you just, because I get a lot of pushback when a lot of what you just said was so valuable. So I hope there's some sales professionals that get to hear this call, and you definitely got to like chop this up and put that out there, because what you said was pure gold about that 1 to 2 times a week, like just getting information, touching them. Like I always tell them, like, find reasons to touch base with your customers just for anything. You don't have to be selling them anything. Just give information. Let them know about EVs that are coming. Yeah. And everybody's like,
we're talking, let's get into the meat and potatoes, because we're talking car talk. Mm-hmm. You saying we OEM. No, who knows what OEM? You got to tell us what that is. Who knows what EV, who knows what that is? So you need to give the word, you give them the terms, but let's get down in the meat and potatoes. Give us definitions, even though I know what those are.
OEM is manufacturer, EV is electric vehicles. And so
go slow. What is it? What is OEM?
So when we talk about the OEM, we're talking about the manufacturers of the product, so we're talking about Stellantis, Ford, and then when we talk about EVs, we're talking about electric vehicles, kind of like Tesla and things of that nature that are coming into the market. So I apologize, make it prouder.
Well, no, we never know who's going to be watching, but electric vehicles, that's a whole different ball game now. I thought that I would never own an electric vehicle. Shit, I had my first electric vehicle, and let me just tell you, how long did it last? How long did I have that electric vehicle? You want to know?
6 months, a year. How long? A month?
I had it about almost a year.
Okay.
It was a Chevy Bolt. I leased it. I totaled my car. It's the first car I ever totaled. So, but the one thing what I loved about my electric car is that of course I saved on gas, but working at a dealership, I would charge at night. Ooh. When I got to work, I would charge again. A few of us that had electric car, we would fight over the pump in the back. It's like when we say fight, it's like, well, who's going to get to work early enough to get it on the pump, right? I mean, to get it on the charger, charge it, because we had one in the back of the dealership and then one on the side. And we would kind of like fight over who's going to get there first. And I said I would get there first maybe twice a week. The other 3, I barely got there. We actually, work started at 9. I would get there like 8:40, 8:45 the other 3 days. I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about it. So that's when I had to put my gas in the car. So I never thought that electric vehicle, I would ever own an electric vehicle. And I never thought that it would be something that I really wanted to actually lease. But that was during the time, Durran, when they were offering the rebates. They were saying, well, you get, was it $7,000 off or $7,000 rebate? And that was an incentive. But the great thing about it, when I totaled it, of course I'm okay because I'm here now, but I got money back. I got almost a $4,000 check in the mail. I was like, what? This is the best thing since sliced bread. So this is a service announcement. Don't get that electric car and don't try to total it, because I didn't try to total it. It was an accident, and think you're going to get money back, because things don't happen like that anymore. But yeah, okay. I just wanted to
I didn't know that's a good story though.
Yeah. I mean, I just, what, the good thing about it, when you're having good conversation, you think about things that you normally wouldn't think of, just like Clash for Clunkers, the electric cars, my accident. So, it's about real life stories on a No Limiter podcast. So what, you go into the dealership, one of my last and final questions, you go in a dealership and you said you're connecting the dots, right? Why would somebody want to do business with you?
They would only want to do business with me. Yeah, you put me on the spot on that one. They would only want to do business with me if, one, they either feel like they're in a problem, or either they foresee a problem in the future. and they see me as a solution to the problem they have now or the problem in the future. And then it gets confirmed once I assess and look at everything and see, yes, we do have a problem, or yes, you're definitely heading towards one. And then I have a game plan of what we need to do. And then we have to make sure that that's something that they want to do, and they have the culture, the team, the leadership to do it. Because I ask people to do sometimes some uncomfortable stuff. And if the leader,
for example,
so I'll say an example would be uncomfortable would be with video. So I'm a big component of video. So I like to see video campaigns go out monthly, and I like to see video go from salespeople or the internet departments to a customer. And so if they're not willing to use that medium and they're like, video is not going to work here, then I'll tell them, well, we can move forward. However, the results that I get from a lot of my clients, we might not get there as far, but we can still see the results. Another one would be, I would say, an example of like unethical practices. Like I'm not a big fan of, let's see, if I find out, or if a dealer's telling me that they do certain things to help subprime customers, or they want me to tell the internet or the BDC team to teach them a certain word track that doesn't really align with how I feel in terms of transparency. So I'm big on a transparency selling model. So there's certain things that if they don't really align with a lot of the philosophies I believe in, then sometimes I'll just tell the potential client that you might be better off with somebody else, because I've seen it play out enough to where, another example would be a dealership that doesn't want to.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that, if you didn't fit into if they wanted to hire you and you wasn't comfortable, you wouldn't get comfortable. You would tell them they need to hire somebody else.
Correct. Yeah. If I feel that the culture and the leader and everything there doesn't align with what it is that I believe in or what we're trying to do, and they say, I'm not going to make that change, I'm going to continue to do business this way. So I'll give you an example. So say a dealer, I have a dealer recently that said, I will not deliver a car. I ain't going to do it. We don't do that. So I said, if that's something
when you say deliver, you mean take the car to the customer?
Correct.
Right?
They won't do it.
Okay.
They're not going to do it because they got burned one time.
Okay.
And so I said, if that is going to be your philosophy, that you will never deliver to a customer. Now we can put rules in place and I can help with that. But if you're saying I said, I might not be the best fit, because I feel like that needs to be part of the message in terms of when somebody's talking to a Regina from Philly and I'm in wherever, and Regina says, hey, could you deliver it? And somebody's saying, no, the only way you can get it is you do your own delivery, or you have to come pick it up, or we just don't deliver out of state. Then depending on the data, if I see that the data says that we need to pull more out of state, or there's an opportunity for that, then I think that we would be going backwards with working with somebody like myself. But if the data shows that, hey, we don't even need out of state, everything's good, then I'm fine with that. But if a dealership is operating on some really old school practices that would conflict with the customer experience that I'm teaching, I just don't think that I might be the best fit. So that's where I have to go into influence mode. I would influence a dealer at that time. Hey, here's why, and here's the data to support that. And if they say, I don't care about the data, I don't care about this is the direction that I want to go, then I might not be the best fit, because we're already kind of here. And that's okay. There's 18-something thousand franchise and so many more independents. And there's a lot of trainers or consultants out there. And I think it goes back, you said something earlier, a lot of people select me or select certain individuals because they really connect with that person. And they know, like the dealerships I work with now, they've been following me and they've seen me enough on social media that they like, this is the dude I want. Let's make it happen. Like we're not even, it's seamless because they know what I'm about. And the ones that probably do not like my approach or don't align my philosophies, I'm probably never even getting to talk to them. That's the power of social media.
So let me ask you a question, because you're young and you're energetic, and I love that. You're my younger brother. So what advice could you give a seasoned person like myself to actually increase the customer experience? Something I can offer to come, something I can do to, to better my game, to better my process. Let me say that.
So,
ticket.
Yeah, this coming from Regina, who's one of the best in the industry, in my opinion, in my eyes. But what I always tell veterans or new people is to keep innovating, look at the mediums that your customers could be using or what they're using now. So if they're using platforms, if your audience uses platforms like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever, if it's LinkedIn, whatever that platform is, make sure you're there too, and then Regina, you talked on something, but make sure that and I hate to even use the word marketing. I would like to say, make sure you're communicating to your customers as frequently as you can with something reliable, realistic, whatever that is, and use this device here. Use that phone to record that message. Hey, this is Durran over at ABC Motors, and I wanted to reach out just to say, boom, whatever that is. But doing things that are innovating yourself by using video, using social media, and then getting involved in the community. I think that stuff is really important, like getting back to what we used to do before the internet, which is where you serve, find that local animal hospital. If you're an animal person, find that whatever and go and serve at those places and do those things. I guess we could call it network marketing. That's how, Regina, you and I are talking, is like, you said something that I did, which was, I do not do stuff like this. Like, I didn't do this before 2020, but when COVID happened, I was like, oh my gosh, okay. I've got to collaborate. I got to network. And I was in my house for 60 days. And so I started getting on different social medias, and I stopped trying to just get a follower, and I start trying to connect with people. And I remember the first time you and I spoke, you're like, so what's up? I was like, nothing. I said, I have no agenda. I said, I just want to connect with you, because who knows, in the future, you and I might do business together. We might be able to help each other out. You never know. And that, again, a last tip to you would be, take it that step further. Every customer that you work with is just taking it one level farther to connect with that person. And I think the rest is history from there. It just becomes fun.
You know what? It's funny that you say all that, because all the videos that I've increased as far as doing, I remember, I was doing videos where I was popping up on Facebook Live and doing things like not that. But now, since the COVID hit, I'm doing videos continuously. I'm talking to people more. I'm connecting more on social media. And I know I've gone to more conferences and met more people because of COVID, right? But you said one key thing when I was going through your profile on like I did, to do my homework on you on LinkedIn, right? And you said one key thing, because the one thing my marketing coach has been telling me is that, you need to send your customers, even if they don't buy a car from you, or even after, you need to send them a video thanking them. And I'm like, do I have time to pop up and just do a video? And I'm thinking to myself, now that you say that, when I went through your business profile and I was looking at different things that you were saying, I'm like, he's right. I need to take a minute out. It doesn't take that long to pop the phone up and say, hey, this is Regina. Thank you for buying a car from me. And doing a continuous basis, but make it a part of what I do, because I know now that that's a way for me to stand out different from somebody else. And yes. I had to read it in your profile for me to actually not want to do it on a regular basis. So
it's uncomfortable. I'll tell you that much. I tell people all the time, on LinkedIn, probably the last couple of years, I think I've sent out over 400 to 500 personalized videos to people behind the scenes. Most people don't even know that, and it was uncomfortable. I never wanted to do all that stuff. But by doing that, it allowed me to connect with people like you. It allowed me to connect with the top people in the industry. And so, you're in doing it with your own customers that already know you. Imagine what that effect would happen.
But you know what, doing them with different people, because you're a product of me. We're a product of each other. When I say that, is because we connected on social media. And usually when people don't, I didn't really, in the early stages of COVID, I really didn't connect with a lot of people. You know what I mean? Because it was like me getting used to actually LinkedIn, because I was uncomfortable with LinkedIn, because I wasn't, even though I was on LinkedIn as a present, but I wasn't doing videos, or I wasn't talking to people. I wasn't, I met some good people on LinkedIn, but also I've met them now in person, and that's just like, I'm so grateful. And the reason I'm grateful, because of, not just because of COVID, but COVID actually, not blessed because of COVID, but blessed because it took everybody's thinking and their marketing and their plan, to a different level, because we're in the house, we wasn't connecting to people. And now this Zoom and this platform being video, I have no problem with it anymore. Before, I would not want to be caught on a video. Now I'm like, okay, got to do my podcast on Sunday. Who can I get? Who can I talk to? Because it's about getting to know you. It's getting about knowing you. Hey, you got a beautiful wife. You got 4 kids. You got a business. This is your goal. This is what you're striving for. You just came back from here. It's just awesome. It's the best thing right now of getting to know a person. But any last thoughts, any last words before we end?
No, just thank you again for having me on. And I was thinking when you started and I was hearing you talk, I was like, wow, she's going to impact a lot of people, maybe like 1 million or so. But I know now that you're probably you're going to influence and help probably tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people, as long as you just keep it going. Keep having fun. I'm one of your biggest fans, biggest supporters, and I hope that you have me back again later this year or sometime in the future. You always got me. So thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for shouting out my wife and kids. I like that because they're all downstairs. We're all cutting vegetables and doing our normal Sunday meal prep thing. So, but thank you for sharing your time with me, and I look forward to the next time.
Of course.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the No Limiter Podcast with Regina Eileen Woodard. Remember to subscribe and review the No Limiter Podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and the No Limiter Podcast YouTube channel. Every listen and review helps to get this podcast out to as many no limiters like you as possible.